The line between dignity and dismissal can be as thin as a laminated badge. Justice Samuel Carter stood quietly at the VIP access line for the Lincoln National Legal Conference, credentials in hand, while the gate agent's eyes darted between his face and the card with calculated skepticism. Years on the federal bench had honed Samuel's ability to spot microaggressions cloaked in procedure, and this was no mistake. 25 attendees waited behind him, their impatience thick in the air, yet the agent lingered on the name, Justice Samuel T. Carter, keynote. Her brows furrowed. "I'll need additional ID," she said, her voice sharp, broadcasting doubt. Samuel stayed composed, though a slow burn simmered beneath his tailored suit. His keynote, Restoring Trust, Equity in the Judiciary, set to begin in 2 hours, capped 40 years in law, 22 as a prosecutor, 18 as a judge. Yet here, none of it seemed to matter. He slid his government-issued ID across the counter. The agent, Lydia Harper, per her name tag, scrutinized it excessively, then said, "This doesn't show your judicial status." Murmurs rippled from the line. Samuel felt the familiar knot of frustration sharpen. This wasn't error. It was a pattern, exhausting and undeniable. Restraint was his instinct, but silence wasn't always right. He pulled out his phone, scrolling to Chief Justice R. Thompson. He'd never used this contact outside official business, but this was bigger than him. It was about the message he'd soon deliver to a room of power brokers, many never questioned at a podium. "I'm making a call," he told Lydia, who raised an eyebrow. On the second ring, Thompson answered. "Carter, you good?" "Not quite," Samuel replied as nearby chatter hushed. "I'm at the VIP desk, denied my pass. My credentials aren't convincing." "What?" Thompson's tone hardened. "Hand the phone to whoever's in charge." Samuel passed it to Lydia, whose stance stiffened. "Yes, sir. I understand." "No, that won't be necessary," she stammered, hands trembling as she returned the phone. Samuel took it back. "Understood. Thank you," he said to Thompson. Lydia, pale, fumbled to prepare his pass. A man in a gray blazer, Elliot Vaughn, conference coordinator, approached. "Justice Carter, I'm so sorry. Let me escort you to the speaker lounge." Behind them, Lydia stood frozen. Vaughn turned to her. "Ms. Harper, HR needs you now." The crowd's silence was heavy. Samuel followed Vaughn through the sleek atrium to the lounge, where coffee and agendas awaited. But the sting lingered. Not the pass or apology, but the need to prove himself again. That afternoon, he delivered his keynote to a packed hall, blending statistics with experience. Then, unscripted, he shared the morning's incident. "I was challenged today," he said. "Not by policy or error, but because I didn't look the part. How many others are denied rooms like this? Not for qualifications, but for assumptions." The room rose in applause, but Samuel's mind lingered on those without a Chief Justice to call. 6 months later, that question birthed policy. Justice Carter chaired the National Fairness and Inclusion Commission, tasked with auditing and reforming access policies in courthouses and legal events. The first to complete its bias training, Lydia Harper. She sent Samuel a letter. "I had no right to question you that day. Your second chance changed how I see the systems I once followed blindly." Samuel didn't reply immediately. When Lydia applied for a public service role on the court's access team, now qualified post-training, he approved her. Not for her humility, but for her growth. Justice, he believed, began with accountability and transformation, one credential at a time. 1 year after the Lincoln incident, Justice Carter stood before another packed auditorium, not as keynote but as commission chair. Morning light streamed through the Capitol Convention Center's arched windows, illuminating rows of legal professionals. Beside him, folders detailed the commission's work, reforms, reviews, trainings. But the real impact lay in quieter shifts, unseen ripples no report could capture. One such ripple visited 3 weeks prior. Lydia Harper, clipboard in hand, stood in his office, nervous but earnest. After excelling in the court's bias program and public access work, she sought a commission role. "Not redemption," she said, "but contribution." Now, she sat in the front row, not a symbol of error, but of growth. Samuel began. Equity isn't a checklist to complete. It's vigilance, humility, admitting we're never done learning. He scanned the room. More diverse faces. More first-timers. Like Malik, a law student he'd met in a rideshare. Samuel's recommendation helped Malik enter Georgetown as a 1L. Today, he stood in the wings with an intern badge. Challenges persisted. Last month, the commission reviewed a Texas case where a black public defender was mistaken for a court reporter, and in Oregon, a Muslim attorney was asked to remove her hijab despite credentials. Vigilance matters more than victory, Samuel said. Mid-speech, he shared a story. In Kentucky, a teen girl in oversized clothes, hair in twists, came to observe a trial for school. Security questioned her, searched her bag. The judge invited her to chambers, let her watch from the bench, explaining each step. She rewrote the moment. The room listened intently. That's our goal, Samuel said. Not perfection, but a culture where harm is interrupted, correction is process, not just punishment. Later, in his D.C. chambers, a letter arrived from a Wisconsin clerk. Your Lincoln speech sent me to equity training. I resisted, but I stayed, listened, changed. Thank you. Samuel filed it with keepsakes. Malik's acceptance letter, a photo of Lena's mother opening her disability advocacy center, and Lydia's new VIP badge, mailed with a note. For when I earn it, I'm working behind the scenes. 3 weeks post-conference, Samuel met Lydia in the commission's D.C. boardroom. Co-author our next training module, he said. Her eyes widened. Me? You know the blind spots, he replied. They drafted the Prospective Pathways Initiative, mandating federal court staff to shadow misunderstood roles. Guards with clerks, judges at service counters, agents in legal aid clinics. It's uncomfortable, Samuel said. Exactly, Lydia agreed. By the second anniversary of the Lincoln incident, it launched in 7 circuits, transforming a near stain on Samuel's legacy into a national shift. Leaving the courthouse one day, Samuel saw a teen girl on the steps, petitioning for free legal clinics, voice shaky but determined. How many signatures? He asked. 30, she said. He signed, then offered. Want more? She recognized him. You're that judge. Today, I'm just someone with contacts, he said. They gathered 70 signatures in 20 minutes. It echoed Amelia, his late wife, who'd said, Justice isn't always in courtrooms. Sometimes it's showing up. That night, Samuel sat in his office, Amelia's photo nearby. The movement's growing, he murmured. Across town, Malik reread Carter's keynote quote in his textbook. True equity arrives when everyone forgets there was ever a door to open. He underlined it twice. One ripple at a time, Samuel's quiet confrontation reshaped the conversation, ensuring no one else needed a Chief Justice to cross the line.